Hello, hi everyone, and thanks for joining us today for this CC Expo session. My name is Jonathan Marr, and I'm leading our cloud sales specialist teams across customer experience, digital workplace, and cloud at Avaya here in the UK. So today I'm going to talk to you about how the experience economy we live in is changing our expectations, not only as customers, but also as employees too. And I'll share with you 5 best practices you can action now to help make the experience for your customer service employees more positive, more powerful, and more productive. And in doing so, drive a better experience for your customers. So let's talk for a second about experiences that matter. So organisations are defined by the experiences that they provide. And today, millions of those experiences worldwide are delivered by Avaya. So Avaya connects people, customers, employees, users, using technology to power a more immersive, productive interaction and provide memorable experiences to customers and users. Our mission statement is our commitment to help business grow by delivering the experiences that matter. So let's talk for a second about the everything customer. And when we talk about the experience economy, what is it we're talking about? So things are no longer kind of sold or described as desirable items or services on their own merit. The experience economy is really about the difference that things have on people's lives, the emotions and the memory associated with goods and services. Experiences. In the same way that I guess holidays now aren't about the hotel furniture or the type of plane, and car ownership is now sold on lifestyle and the lifestyle that the car enables rather than the engine size or the features of the car, right? And experience really is everything. So in terms of experience, what do customers want when they reach out to you? Well, customers want everything. And we call them the everything customer. And I guess that's because at the same time, they could both want the quickest answers without hassle, but also to interact and have meaningful interactions with humans. They want a targeted and personalized service, but at the same time, they also want to have privacy over their identity and their information. They want to interact over WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook Messenger, but they also want to reach out and talk to somebody over the phone. So in other words, they kind of expect a customer experience where they are connected but left alone, treated equally but also served uniquely, a consistent service, but one where they can be surprised by the exceptional. And they want a fully featured service, but also an effortless service. So really, as we all kind of expected, well, customers just want a lot. And I say that as a customer, right, as we all are. So how do we make these difficult individuals, the everything customer, happy? So the customer experience has to be memorable to differentiate it from other experiences from other organizations. And their customer experience has to be effortless for them. In other words, it should just happen easily, proactively, and consistently. So to deliver the customer experience that these difficult and demanding people, i.e. us, want, the experience needs to be organisation-wide. And it's not just about the customer's first touch in those organisations. So when it comes to shaping customer experience, customer perceptions and the associated feelings, an accumulation of all of the interactions I have with our organisations, through the frontline people, the billing people, the products, the website, it's everything. And multiple studies have concluded that customers with a bad experience handled well are actually, on average, more loyal to companies than customers who've never had a bad experience at all. And in fact, going on the back of that, a recent Mercer study suggests that organisations that treat their employees like customers will ultimately provide a better customer experience. So And the key to treating employees like customers is to apply the same thinking to how we make customers' lives better, right, in terms of that experience. It's about gaining insight into their pain points, and it's about delivering a journey that's going to map the same way to map customer journeys to deliver the best experience, right? And we said before, a bad experience handled well is what drives loyalty. And that's both from employees and from customers. So Richard Branson famously said that customers do not come first, employees come first. And if you take care of your employees, they will take care of your customers. And happy and engaged employees will deliver a better customer experience. But to validate what Mr. Branson said, let's just quantify it for a second. So according to Gallup, satisfied employees are 3 times more likely to solve customer issues and problems than a disengaged or a dissatisfied employee. And Gartner research says that there is a direct link between surveyed companies that invest in the employee experience and the profitability of those companies on a per employee basis. So in fact, it's 4.2 times higher average profit per individual between those that invest the most in the employee experience and those that invest the least. So whilst it might be kind of obvious that providing a great employee experience provides a great customer experience, we all know that actually doing it is a little bit harder, and organisations have got to work hard to keep their employees engaged, happy and productive. And in fact, actually just to keep the best people, full stop. Because these days, I think even with the impacts of COVID and the environment we're living in today, it's still pretty much a buyer's market for good, skilled employees, right? And with apps and services like Glassdoor providing detailed reviews and ratings of companies, that's empowering the best staff like never before in deciding who they want to work for at any point in time. And the whole recruitment and retention of those good customer service people has changed as well. So people are waking up to the difference that they can make. The people who are really good, empowered employees that drive customer service can make a huge difference to companies, to customer loyalty in the bottom line. And that's also making it harder to retain those really good employees. So what are, I guess, some of the top challenges that are impacting the employee experience in organisations? So despite the huge increases in interactions taking place in kind of digital channels and online activities, and all the huge investments that companies are making in AI, virtual assistants and automation, human interactions are still the forefront of the customer experience. And in many cases, the only actual human interaction that a customer may have with many organisations is over the phone with customer service agents, which make them the face of the brand effectively. Now, one of the areas that can help most is the technologies and applications supporting those agents. But it would seem that many organisations, certainly that we've seen, are lagging on that front. For example, 84% of contact centre employees say their desktop tools are not effective when interacting with customers and are slowing response times, causing both customer and employee frustration. So employees have to navigate, if you look at a contact centre, right, an average of 8 screens when serving customers for most interactions. So it's little wonder that over half of employees in those environments report they have problems finding the right answers when they need it to solve customers' issues. And the cost of this to an organisation can be huge. I mean, I recently saw statistics that showed that a contact centre with 300 employees can lose up to $1.5 million in lost productivity annually when employees are forced to jump from screen to screen whilst going through the process of serving customers. And poor employee experience is ultimately expensive. And in fact, a bigger impact still is the impact that a poor employee experience will have on staff attrition. We all know that contact centres are one of the industries most affected by high staff turnover rates. And on average, Contact centres overall have staff turnover rates between 30 to 45%, according to QATC data from the US. The Centre for American Progress also estimates that the cost of replacing frontline employees when they churn, on average, is an additional 20% of cost on top of an FTE salary. So if you times that by 50 employees for a decent sized contact centre, then these are significant staff turnover costs. And this is just the hard costs we're talking about here. But then when you consider some other ways that agent attrition affects productivity, through institutional knowledge loss, through the cost of overtime for other staff having to cover for staff shortages, low employee morale for those guys, burnout. And then, of course, the time and cost to recruit and train and get new agents up to a good proficient level, then the bottom line cost of losing quality staff is much higher still. And that also obviously impacts on the customer service as well as the costs. So let's look at some best practices for improving the experience of employees who are providing customer service and customer experiences. So I mentioned earlier that one of the biggest factors impacting the employee experience is the different screens and tools they use to work with customers. And in fact, when evaluating your employee tool sets and technology, the impact of the technology on the employees itself could be as critical as a consideration as that on the customers, because ultimately one will drive the other. So now I'm going to share with you 5 practical best practices we've seen our own customers use that you can learn from also, which are underpinned by technology to improve employee engagement and motivation, and therefore the customer experience that you deliver. So the first of these best practices is about finding the perfect match. So one of the most effective ways to improve the employee experience is to play to the employee's strengths and make the best use of what those employees are really good at. And given the human touch in delivering that customer experience, leveraging not only the agent's skills, but also their personalities, their behaviors, their performance attributes, their attitude, it can make a huge difference to a customer interaction if they feel those things too. And one way to actually do that using technology is to leverage a technology called behavioural pairing. So unlike kind of traditional contact center routing, where customers are typically routed to the first available agent employee regardless of the fit, what behavioural AI pairing identifies is it looks for subtle, valuable patterns within the human interactions, within each of the interactions, and then intelligently matches customers to the best employees to serve their needs on the basis of a number of different intelligent factors. So how does that all kind of work and come together? So it's behavior based. So it's analysing the past interactions and predicting future behaviours of both the customer and the employee. And it's data driven, right? So it's leveraging information from internal systems, from databases, from CRM systems, and externally sourced information from third-party providers, including things like demographics, psychographics, professional information, credit card usage, travel habits, income levels, and loads more data as well. And it's kind of value outcome oriented, right? So external data is coupled with your internal customer information, such as the tenure of the customer, the value, the frequency of the contact they've had, product purchase histories, just to ensure the best match and the best outcome. And of course, the best employees, not worth forgetting, the best employees to handle a particular customer interaction may not always reside in the contact center at all, right? So you can use a business rules engine to pair your customers, their unique needs with subject matter experts that might reside in the organisation outside of the contact centre. So experts in the office, for example, retail salespeople in stores, or could be clinically trained specialists working in the field. So let's look at the second best practice that we've gleaned, and that's about making all knowledge common knowledge. So this is really centered around the workplace. Now, we all know that looking for accurate, readily available, accessible information is one of the biggest drains on the employee experience when servicing customers. And quite often when you hear an agent say, oh, look, sorry, my system's a bit slow at the moment when you're calling up, quite often what they really mean is, oh, I'm scrambling around trying to grab all this information. I'm going from one application to another. I've got lots of windows open on the desktop. I'm trying to find all of the things I need to ensure that I can actually bring up your information and process what you're asking for. And at the core of improving that employee experience with the multiple screens and sources of data is really about providing a comprehensive, unified desktop that proactively serves employees everything they need at their fingertips. So giving them access to all the information, the apps and the resources within a single workspace, irrespective of where that data is housed or which system is actually managing that data at the back end. So integration of the agent workspace within CRM applications is obviously critical to the goal, but equally critical is powering the agent's desktop with real-time dynamic knowledge for integration also into the organization's knowledge management systems. And look, if companies do this, they can ensure the information is served to their agents proactively and dynamically, and can make sure that that information is then personalized to the context of the interaction they're working to or the function that the agent is performing. So all of which saves them the frustration of having to chase around, find stuff across loads of applications and sites, eliminates that screen switching, and reduces the time necessary to get answers to complex customer questions using manual processes. So best practice number 3 is about, I guess, making customer centricity everywhere, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say here, right, is the future of work is all about collaboration. So it's about people with the right skills coming together to solve problems collectively as a team, right, rather than necessarily as an individual. So the same should apply when solving customer issues. But one of the biggest challenge, and we just talked about experts and reaching into an organisation, is for a customer service agent to try and find, to get hold of those right people in a timely fashion and bring them in to the whole interaction. And it's often because I think today most kind of customer experience transformation and initiatives around that are kind of focused on all of the front office processes to make it faster, better, easier. You know, when the customer comes in, he gets that first touch into a customer service agent. But then the focus kind of stops there, right? So everything sits with the agent. And the focus on the rest of it, back into the organisation and the employee experience between the agent and the rest of the organisation tends to kind of fall by the wayside, right? So the back office, and specifically, I think, you know, delays and errors, trying to get a hold of people in the back office is one of the biggest factors in impacting the frontline customer experience today. And look, if things go wrong there, get complex or get emotional, and customers want to speak to the right person to fix the problem immediately, wherever they are in the organisation, whatever department they're in, being able to get a hold of those people and before the sentiment of the customer starts to creep up is key, right? And when that kind of customer centricity, I'll use that word again, is infused across the whole organisation, employees can then see the direct impact of their efforts. They became part of a team working towards a common goal, as opposed to the guy stuck at the coal face who's having to take all of the flack and the heat from the client. And when everyone's collectively responsible for the outcomes, that helps to make people more engaged and more empowered as well, right? And again, technology can help here just by enabling better, real-time and seamless collaboration across the organisation, infusing context and capabilities such as routing and workflow throughout the business, right? Past the contact center. They're making back office resources, insights and capabilities available to the contact center. So organizations can make a huge difference to customer experience and also to the people who are serving customer experience. So let's look at number 4. Giving every employee a digital coworker, right? What does that mean? Well, I think it's important to highlight here. We talked about co-workers and people in the back office, right? But actually these days, some of the most valuable co-workers, the people on the front line in the call center, are almost as likely to be digital as they are to be human in terms of finding and matching that information. So what we recommend here is giving every agent a digital co-worker to help them do their jobs even better, right? And of course the human touch matters. As I said earlier, that's the brand, right? And it's what humans do really well. But by providing agents with digital co-workers, they can focus their human skills on the customer, on the relationship, the interpersonal elements, the empathy that they can convey on a phone call, while relying on those digital assistants that analyze the interaction in the background, bring up any hidden or unseen issues, and most importantly, to suggest the next best actions in real time then to support that agent. Right, so a good example is where you're leveraging virtual assistants to monitor the sentiment of an interaction in real time and being able to identify difficult interactions very quickly, right? So allowing action to be taken before emotions or the situation spiral out of control. So you can imagine the impact on an agent experience if, during an interaction where a customer seems to be getting agitated and it may not be apparent to the agent, but the virtual assistant, because it's doing that real-time analysis of sentiment in the background, can actually pick up on that and then alert a supervisor, for example, to join in that interaction immediately, giving the support to that agent before they've even asked for it. So not only that, but I think customers really notice when employees focus on them rather than being distracted even slightly, like I'm sometimes distracted by looking at the other screen now. And, being able to access that information and being able to kind of take those actions without taking their eye off the customer, I think helps, and that can really help to enhance the customer feeling like they're at the center and the overall customer experience. And look, above that, virtual assistants can also handle a lot of the manual, time-consuming activities that agents have to undertake with every interaction. Like, for example, automatically inserting transcriptions into CRM systems at the end of the call in after-call work. Right, that can save employees up to 65% of time doing that post-call, after-call work. So moving on to our last and very pertinent best practice. And that's something a lot of us don't really have a choice with anymore, and that's making working anywhere a permanent thing, right? And we know that obviously COVID has accelerated the trend for remote working and working anywhere. But even before that, over the last few years, there's been a very significant shift in attitudes to work. In particular, it comes to home working and flexible working. And actually, one of the unexpected outcomes of COVID has been, in some cases, the positive impact it has on a lot of customer service and customer-facing staff, right? So a recent Nemertes study found that across verticals like retail and healthcare, a lot of employees are now saying, well, even whatever happens after the pandemic, we're going to continue to allow our agents to actually work from home. And in retail, up to 68% of participants said that participating organisations said that they would do that, and 70% in healthcare said that they would allow their agents to continue to work from home. And I think across all organisations, it was about 57%, with most companies saying the main reason was to improve the employees' quality of life on the basis that it reduces attrition rates and all of the things we talked about before in terms of the costs that drive into an organisation. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that working remotely will be for everyone or appropriate for everyone even, but it certainly makes it an option for those that need it. And in fact, actually opens up organisations to a wider talent pool as well, and gives more flexibility, not to mention the employees. For example, there are a lot of staff that, because of their personal circumstances, they can't come into office, they want to have shorter shifts, they want to spend more time with their family, don't want the commuting, and the really good agents, some of those guys are the ones who want that flexible working the most, right? So this gives you a pool of talent. It also means that you can look nationally or look even broader perhaps, if those agents don't have to come into an office. And also it goes a long way towards preventing agent burnout as well, right? Because you don't want to lose those guys, because we know how hard it can be to replace them. So again, technology plays a massive role in enabling remote working, with up to 34% of companies saying that during COVID, the technology actually worked better than they originally envisioned. Particularly areas in terms of providing visibility into what agents are actually doing when they're working remotely, ensuring they've got the right support and engagement, and providing the right levels of kind of training and mentoring using technology. So applications like desktop and process analytics are an enabler for making sure that supervisors can do virtual walkabouts for the contact center employees, because then by tracking application usage, they can see what applications they're using, how they're using them, what for, how long, and then they can identify also training gaps, process breakdowns, and most important, compliancy in terms of the use of those tools. And also in terms of motivation, gamification can help better engage staff, communicate goals, measure and acknowledge achievements, inspire collaboration, and motivate teams, even if those teams happen to be geographically and physically dispersed. So workforce engagement apps are also available via mobile devices to provide virtual employees with anytime, anywhere access to things like scheduling information, along with capabilities for actually requesting schedule changes, doing shift bidding, etc. But of course, using workforce management not only is a tool to maximise productivity, but one that actually helps with the employee experience of working remotely, that makes it beneficial for everyone. So again, the more that companies support their staff and employees working from home, the better it will be in terms of providing a better experience to customers and that customer experience in the long term. And that is critical, because it's something we've all got to live with now. So those that can master it and do it well, I think will start to have an advantage in these times. So just to summarise, I guess, what we've talked about in terms of the employee experiences that organisations can create. And of course, customers are the main beneficiaries of all these things, right? We talked about finding the perfect match between customers and agents. We talked about making all knowledge in the organisation common knowledge. Everyone who needs it getting access to that. Putting customer centricity everywhere, which is really about bringing the back office and front office together in collaboration to make sure that the best skills are brought to bear when resolving any kind of customer interaction and query. It's about also providing the agents with a digital coworker to help provide real-time assistance with making sure that interactions are handled, escalated, and also reducing the workload and reducing that clutter of them having to look in different places for information. And last but not least, making working from anywhere a permanent fixture. It's our lives now. A lot of contact centres and customer service organisations have in the past avoided it, but now we've got to learn to live with it, right? And that's the thing is, COVID really was a bit of a worldwide wake-up call to that. And the additional challenges and the uncertain future of COVID, we've got to deal with that in everything we do. So we've now got to consider how we best, in this environment, keep employees productive. Yet we've now got remote working solutions and security to make sure that they can access and use in the right way the new tools and skills that they're using for the job, right? So, and I think the advantages of cloud kind of provide well for that. It's also about, keeping the customers connected. And I guess what I mean by that is keeping the customers connected to our employees, right? So we've got the employees are now disconnected from the organisation, but we've got the customers wanting more from that contact. So keeping the employees connected to the organisation, keeping them well connected to the customers and the needs of the customers is critical in making sure this happens. And again, this is about making sure that all of those things are linked up, and the cloud plays a big role in that. And also we've got to consider now the fact that people are remote working. There's a lot of infrastructure requirements, there's a lot of infrastructure drag, there's a lot of considerations in terms of agility, resilience, security, and the fact we're scaling things up at a really rapid rate, right? So this is all the kind of things that are challenged from an IT perspective, and areas that are best addressed in terms of the capabilities coming out of cloud. So I guess how can Avaya help in these areas, right? So Avaya, in terms of what we do, we help organisations transform their employee and customer experience by providing the technologies, the applications and the expertise that bring that employee experience and that customer experience together. And Avaya One Cloud, our cloud portfolio, is built on that premise, and it's really about breaking down the boundaries between customers and employees using a multi-cloud application ecosystem through our partners and through other leading cloud platforms that provide for the future of customer experience, helping to empower customer advocates and customer service people to provide the best customer experiences and enjoy great experiences themselves, and also the future of employee work, right? So introducing new ways for staff to work and be productive across your whole organisation. And we deliver this through Avaya One Cloud, as I said, multi-cloud ecosystem that combines the benefit of Avaya and our heritage and expertise in contact center with the technologies of our partners and also of other leading cloud providers and platforms. So to close, just a quote there in terms of customer satisfaction. But anyway, it's been a pleasure having this opportunity to talk to you guys today, and my contact details are there on the screen. And look, if you want to know more about how Avaya can help your organisation deliver those experiences that matter, don't hesitate to reach out to me on these details. And I look forward to speaking to you all again, and maybe even next year in person at CC Expo. We can only hope. So thanks for your time, and goodbye.